Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews, and welcome to this month's Q&A. Now I'm a couple of days late with the September Q&A because as of 2 days ago I had 2 pallets of Ozzie Reviews gun bags finally arrive. So yeah, as I promised you guys, I'd be immediately getting them out the door. So pretty much, yeah, yesterday we did from 3 a.m. right through to 6 p.m, you know, packing and writing out orders. So it was just a massive day, and I'm still feeling it today, to be quite honest. So what I managed to do was get all the orders packed, so that's a good thing. However, the post office had closed before I got all of them off, but I got about 70% of all orders sent. So when the post office opens after this weekend, then obviously I'll take the remaining 30% and get them sent off for you. So guys, if you do want one, I mean, look, we were sold out of rifle bags, and you know, there is a couple of months delay, you know, in ordering, because obviously, you know, cargo restrictions with COVID, you know, require most things to go by sea shipping. So you know, if you haven't seen it or you've been completely out of the loop, a very quick rundown. The gun bags are Australian oilskin. You also have Australian wool. So what happens is the company here in Australia, they own an assembly plant in Fiji. So they send all that Australian made material over there. It gets assembled, and then it gets shipped back here to Australia, and then to me, where obviously I can sell it from there. So I do like that a lot better than, you know, Australian made with Chinese made materials, or Chinese made with Chinese made materials. You know, this was the best I could do. So, you know, the whole result of the bag looks really nice. It's like that dries a bone sort of finish to it. You know, got that bit of an oily feel naturally with the Australian oil skin, and just a nice heavy duty bag. So I'm really happy with how they've come out. So what I did was I ordered a few extras, okay? So I had 20 extras as of last night, and I updated the web store, and I think we got 12 left at the time of doing this video. So if you do want one, jump onto aussiereviews.com, then go to merchandise, and you can clearly see that they're there. We've also got about 65 pistol bags as well. Once again, guys, they are really high quality, okay? It's not just something I've done on the cheap here. You know, you can put an iPad in it, that whole sort of thing as well, that pistol bag. So there's a dual roll with it. So what I wanted to show you was just a little bit of a sneak peek update here. Now this is what I've been working on for some time. This is the Ozzie Reviews M4 gun bag, okay? So it's more made for like the Remington 7615s, the Warwick Arms straight pull, you know, obviously AR-15s and alike, but also it fits perfectly with the Tikka A1 tack with the stock folded, you know. So any of those firearms with a large scope, you know, pistol grip, you know, detachable magazine, you know, like up to 30 rounds where they start to hang down a bit, this bag will obviously accommodate it, okay? Obviously, if you don't have a foldable stock and you got something with like a, you know, 26-inch barrel, like a, you know, heavy duty setup there with your rifle, then yeah, you know, it's not going to fit in this M4 bag. But the Ozzie Reviews M4 gun bag will be coming out soon. There's just a couple of more modifications I want to do to it. This is just the sample, but that'll also be available soon as well, guys. So yeah, I'm trying to get this stuff done, but keep in mind, it's just myself and Mrs. Ozzie, so you know, there's only so much we can do with all the other commitments that we're juggling. So I'll get into one of the biggest questions that I've got from a few people this month, and that is, how is Hank doing? Well, I'm not sure if you can hear, but he's in the background here. So Hank's doing really well. You know, he's enjoying the farm, loving the farm, and just he's developing into just a really beautiful natured dog. He really is. So yeah, still a squirmy little pup, so to speak. You know, he's always wanting to wander around and play and everything. You know, like now he just no, because he just thinks I want to play and everything. So he's still got that puppy mentality, but you know, yes, I know, but just an absolute beautiful dog, you know. So I love him a lot, and yeah, he's just developing into a great dog. All right, so let's continue on with the questions for this month. First one is from Simon. He says, "Hi Ozzie, you've reviewed the Ruger Precision Rifle, Lithgow LA105 and the Tikka TAC A1 with great results. This made it very hard for me to choose out of the 3 rifles. What would be your choice and why?" Well, I look at it this way, mate. You know, all 3 rifles are very good rifles, and I find each of them have their own I guess, plus over the other. Now, the Ruger Precision there, I just love the look of it. You know, ergonomically, you know, it's just set up, ready to go. I like the magazine system with it. I like the setup in general, the way it looks. It just is a really nice rifle. Now, obviously, if, you know, budget is your concern, then I would definitely go for the Ruger, because, you know, that's on the lower end out of the three there. So that would be my choice for that. If you want to obviously support Australian made, you know, the Lithgow is a very well-made rifle as well, and obviously, you know, capable of some great results. So, you know, that's something to consider there too. But me personally, like, honestly, I love that Tikka A1 tack. I mean, I've got a handful of friends now who have also bought them, because they're just ridiculously accurate. You know, straight out of the box, you know that thing is going to shoot about 0.3 of an inch with factory ammo at 100, and, you know, stretching it out to, like, you know, 1,000, you know that rifle is going to be able to shoot better than what your capability is, put it that way. I just love how everything on it is just really high end and quite nice. So, you know, if your budget can stretch to it, then obviously I would, you know, highly recommend that as well. So you really can't go wrong with any three of those rifles. It just depends on what your budget is. Next question I got here is from John. He says, hi Ozzie, what's your opinion on and when to use the different centerfire magnums? For example, 7mm Remington Magnum and 300 Win Mag. Well, mate, I find you know, 308 has been ample for my needs over many years. However, I used to have a 300 Win Mag, and that was for basically long range extended target shooting, okay? Going to those distances over 1,000 yards where the 308 was starting to lose, you know, its legs in terms of, you know, its accuracy. So I do find that they've got a decent, you know, I guess use for that. However, in a hunting scenario, yeah, you're very limited here in Australia with what you would probably use it for. What I could think of as camels, because usually camels you can't get very close to, so you need something hard hitting that's going to hit hard at those longer ranges. So yeah, definitely 300 Win Mag or 7mm Remington Magnum will be, you know, perfect for that sort of thing. Also too, if you're in really hilly country and you have to shoot across a valley, and you're shooting onto you know, the other side of a mountain there, and it may be, you know, 400 or 500 yards across there, and you want something that's going to definitely humanely do the job, then perhaps you might have a use for it there. But like I said, mate, for me, you know, 308 just does the job. It's half the price of the Magnum calibers, so that's why I've stuck to it over the years. Next question I got here is from John. He says, G'day Ozzie, hope you and Mrs. Ozzie are doing great. This question relates to scope ring height. Do you have any tips or tricks on how to go about figuring out what the correct height rings for a particular scope would be? Oftentimes I like to buy gear online. However, with scope rings, there is always a risk that the height of the rings may not be correct for the scope required. I've previously used the coin stack trick by sitting the scope on coins of the same denomination and then measuring the thickness of the coin stack and adding half the scope tube thickness to come to a close estimation of height, but was wondering if there is a better method. Cheers mate, John. Okay, this may sound, you know, there'll probably be a lot of target shooters and that'll go, really? You know, what I've done for many years, all I've done is simply, if I've got a 40mm or 44mm objective optic, I just go with medium height rings. Usually that does the trick for me. You know, if I've got a 50 or a 56mm objective, then, you know, I go for high rings. So, you know, a lot of people, like I say, will go, really? But yeah, it's worked for me doing that way for many years. However, if you want to actually get nitty gritty with it, you know, go and have a look at some of the calculators online, you know, like, for example, milrad.com, so mil-rad.com, have an actual scope calculator. So you can do that, you can work it out, and it's got all the measurements in there and everything for you to enter the values in, and you'll definitely find the correct ring. But for me, I guess I'm a little bit more basic there. Next question I got here is from Paddy. He says, G'day Ozzie, I'm moving up to Queensland, Brisbane initially. I know I can do the banana bending course online, but do you have any other advice for shooting in Queensland? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but Anyhow, I'm familiar with Cleavers for great service, but any other good shops, rifle ranges that you could suggest? Does Queensland have a similar system to New South Wales R licence, or is SSAA Farmer Assist popular? Keep up the great honest reviews. And also, do I have to drink 4X by law? Cheers, Paddy. Well, mate, no, you don't. Great Northern's definitely a better drop as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, as for the gun shops and everything, mate, there's a lot in Brisbane, you know, apart from obviously Cleavers there. You've got Queensland Gun Exchange on the south side there. You've got Rebel Gun Works as well. You know, then going a bit further south, you've got Gun World. There's also Shooter's Delight. And if you're looking for courses, have a look at 3 Gun Tactical. So just the numeral 3 gun and then tactical. Okay, they're just over the bridge from the north side there. So yeah, have a talk to them, because I do believe that they're actually running some different shooting courses. As for you know, state forest hunting, no, there's none of that here in Queensland. It was voted down not too long ago, but obviously it needs to be looked at again after this upcoming election. So yeah, the farmer assist is the only thing that I can think of that would, you know, allow you to get out there and shoot on properties, but even then that's not public land hunting. So yeah, anyhow, mate, all the best with it. Next question I got here is from Matt, and he says, g'day Ozzie, have you done any reviews on electronic fox callers? I'm in the market to buy one and appreciate your input. No, I haven't, mate. Mainly because, you know, usually I just use my mouth when calling, you know, like you just make the noise of similar to like an injured rabbit, like that. And I find they just come straight in. Or, you know, if you want to save your mouth a little bit, but, you know, still use a device there that's not going to hurt your lips too much, is just use a normal fox caller. You know, SDS Targets sell one there for $15. So, you know, it's pretty easy. Yeah, there's even a video on how to use it on their webpage. So, mate, that's what I'd suggest. You know, I know there's people that have had a lot of success with the electronic ones, but yeah, I don't. That's all I use. Next question I got here is from Bernd. He says, hi Ozzie, I've just put my money down on a Lithgow LA105 in 308. Main reason for choosing 308 is the larger range of bullets available. What would be the better weighted and type of projectile suited to a 24-inch barrel? I intend to use it mainly as a range rifle with the occasional hunting trip. Cheers, Bernie. Well, mate, it doesn't really matter for that 24-inch barrel. I mean, that's going to be, you know, I mean, geez, even a 20-inch barrel, more than suited for, you know, shooting on the range and also going out hunting as well. So as for the actual, you know, bullet weight, yes, okay, depending on what you're hunting, once again, but, you know, like the 168 grain match is perfect for that range use, but for hunting, like the 165 grain Sierra Game King, I'll tell you, like that thing will drop anything you need to drop here in Australia very effectively. It's a great bullet, and you know, it comes in a lot of factory ammo. You know, Federal offer it, and you know, some other manufacturers out there. So yep, that's what I'd stick to, mate. Next question I got here is from Rowan. He says, hi Ozzie, I do hope you and Mrs. Ozzie are well and keeping clear of the flu. I've often contributed to the various platforms of advocacy for the responsible licensed shooter in Australia. I believe that well-articulated, intelligent advocacy can go a long way toward increasing the social license of our sporting and hobby shooter fraternity. We have numerous organisations promoting our sports and hobbies, although some of these can, at times, promote controversy over the best interest of all of us. Yes, I agree. I think there may need to be a greater coercion between the likes of SSAA, Shooters Union, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, etc., rather than the divided front that we increasingly see in our contemporary media. What are your thoughts on the suggestion of a summit meeting between the heads of the above organisations aimed at creating a united front for the advocacy of all responsible licensed firearm owners? Well, mate, I can see where you're coming from, and yes, you know, there's you know, strength in unity. Definitely, there is. The problem is, you know, and I won't go naming certain organisations, but you know, when you have meetings with weapons licensing that the organisations do, okay, And then they bring up other restrictions that they want to implement, and you have certain organisations that are quite happy just to say nothing and go along with that. And then you have other organisations, then you have other organisations who are quite vocal and just go, over our dead body, would we see that as acceptable? So this is where I come to, like, how do you join those sort of organisations? I mean, because let's be honest, all these smaller organisations we're seeing now, in my view, have come to light because of people being disheartened with the bigger organisations that in their view do absolutely nothing for firearm rights. So, so you've got all these smaller bodies, which basically are a product of larger bodies not doing enough for those individual members. So, like I said, I'm not going to go naming people and stuff like that because we're divided enough as it is. But, that's where I see the problem, mate, is, if you've got bigger organisations that don't listen to their members and then their members go to smaller organisations, if those bigger organisations aren't listening to their members and those members are then leaving, how are you going to then convince that bigger organisation to join a smaller organisation, for example, when in the first place they didn't listen to their members and that's why those members left? So look, it's a very hard one, mate. I honestly don't have an answer for it. Next question I got here is from Matt. He says, "Hi Ozzie, hope you're well. I've been looking at the Anschutz 1710 DHB. I think I remember from one of your reviews that the 1710 DHB has an update. If that's the case, how do we tell the old rifle from the new one? And also, what's the differences? Thanks, mate. Keep up the awesome content. Cheers, Matt." Very simple, mate. A lot of the old Anschutz rifles had what was called the wing safety. Okay, so on the rear of the bolt, it was basically like a wing. You'd flip it around from safe to fire. That was it. So the newer ones actually have the safety, on the right-hand side of the action there. So yeah, that's all it is. It's just a pure cosmetic change in that regard. The newer 1710s will shoot just as accurate as what the old ones did, and vice versa. Next question I got here is from Cody. He says, "Hi Ozzie, with the looming state elections, I'm planning on having a word with an independent local member about their stance on helping us with the legislation of suppressors. My region is Capalaba, which is very close to the Belmont shooting complex. This particular member has a heavy emphasis on local sports and health, so I think we have a real shot at getting his support. I've seen your video and interviews you do on YouTube, but wondering if there's anything else you could add to give a real edge over people's often preconceived opinions about suppressors. If he doesn't win the election, I'll be having a chat with whichever local member does win and see what headway we can gain." Well, mate, first of all, good on you for actually taking the initiative to do it, because honestly, if all shooters did it, we'd have all the changes under the sun. But there's only probably about maybe 1% of us that can be bothered to actually do anything. So good on you, Cody, for actually doing it. So, mate, I basically, when I talk about suppressors, I talk about them. Well, it's like a muffler for a vehicle. It doesn't make it absolutely impossible to hear. All it does is just take that loud boom away that, can help protect your hearing. Not only that, it also lowers the, complaints from nearby neighbours. And when I'm talking about nearby neighbours, like, you look at the Belmont shooting range there. I mean, they've had complaints. I mean, all you have to do is search it online. You can see that people in the area have been complaining about the noise. So, I mean, this is a problem. Like, we shooters are happy to comply and go, well, yeah, great, let's use a suppressor. But they won't issue them to us here in Queensland. So, it's, well, how do you fix the problem? I mean, we could fix one, workplace health and safety with obviously hearing loss. And then also you could help, people who legitimately put in complaints about the noise because, for whatever reason, on a Sunday they might be sitting there, just relaxing at the back of their house and they don't want to hear any noise, and then they can just hear the rifle fire, in the distance coming from the range. But, so this is what I would go from that point of view, just saying that, there is genuine benefits to having them. And then you've only got to look at places like the UK where it's almost neighbourly to have one attached to the firearm. New Zealand, don't even need a licence to go and buy one. Not too sure with the latest changes with what's happened there though. You'd have to have a look at that. And then numerous other European countries, for example, that regularly use suppressors. I mean, you can't do anything bad with that suppressor without having a firearm in the first place. And if it's only registered shooters, that are acquiring these suppressors, do these powers to be really think that by adding a suppressor to a registered firearm by a licensed shooter, that suddenly that licensed shooter is going to have a switch in their head just go tick, and they're going to go out and want to do something bad with it? It just doesn't work that way. It's absolutely ludicrous in my view to think like that. However, this is how a lot of these politicians think. So yeah, I would approach it from that point of view, but please let me know how you go. Next question I got here is from Anthony. He says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm interested in your opinion on projectile weight. From what I've read, a lighter projectile moves faster and potentially flatter than a heavier projectile, but on the flip side, a heavier projectile may be moving slower but hits harder. In all your years of hunting, shooting professionally, can you say it makes a difference? Often you say dead is dead, so I'm interested if you think projectile weight makes a difference. Cheers." Yes, mate, it makes a big difference. Usually what you'll find in the caliber is, when you go to those lighter projectiles, a lot of them aren't made, for that slow controlled expansion, on larger game. So, like for example, if we look at, say, let's take the 243, something very common here in Australia. You get a 243 and you can get you run through like 60 grain VMAX and stuff like that. Well, those 60 grain VMAX are, a very rapid expanding projectile. So, if you want to shoot sort of lighter skin game, like, foxes, crows at long range, that sort of stuff, that's what people, will use that for. However, if you go up to like 100 grain Game King in the 243, complete different story. With that, that's what you take deer with, because it's just got that slow controlled expansion. That's what the bullet is designed to do, not open up rapidly like a lot of lighter projectiles do. I did do in the beginner basics series, I expanded on this and I used the 308 as an example, and at the time I only had a tree branch to shoot into, but I showed people the difference between match ammunition, the lighter rapid expanding rounds, and also the heavier game projectiles. So yeah, have a look at that, mate. It's it's on the 308. It's in the beginner series. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's understanding centerfire ammunition or something along the lines of that. You'll find it there, but sorry, I didn't jot it down to tell you, but you will get the answer there, mate, and then you'll understand a lot more the difference between them. Next question I got here is from Dan. He says, "Hi Ozzie, really enjoy your honest reviews on all things shooting and hunting related. My question is, we do a lot of crop protection, varmint control here in Tasmania, and are currently using a 22 Magnum and a Ruger 1022, and we're finding that we need something with more distance and knockdown power. We are limited in what caliber we can use due to the close proximity of other properties. I'm in the process of getting a CZ527 American in 22 Hornet, which hopefully will be okay. What do you think of the 22 Hornet as a caliber, and what scope would you recommend to put on this rifle?" My 22 Hornet is a fantastic caliber. It really gives you that nice balance between, like the 223 and obviously 22 Magnum or 22 LR. As for what I think about in that circumstance that, you're giving here, I think, yes, it will obviously, be good. It'll give you that extra knockdown, and it doesn't have that loud clout, compared to a 223. However, the ammunition is pretty expensive, okay? Like, you're paying way more for 22 Hornet ammo than what you are for 223. So just keep that in mind. So if you do then go on to reloading the 22 Hornet is a whole nother realm. It has a very thin jacket on it, so a lot of people complain about split necks and stuff like that on it. But in saying that, if you don't push it too hard, you should be able to get quite a good handful of reloads out of the single shell before you need to replace that. So yeah, look, I think it's probably pretty good for your situation there, mate. Depends on how much you want to spend on a scope, but you know, if you want something nice on top of it there, you know, like look at the Loophole VX3i, you know, like just a 3 to 9 by 40. If you want something a bit cheaper, you can go the Loophole VX Freedom 3 to 9 by 40. That sort of thing I think would be ideal. If you can afford it, well, you can obviously go higher, and there's a greater range that you can access there. But just one last thing I will say, Dan, on the 22 Hornet, and if you are getting into reloading, something you may want to consider is you may want to consider the 222 and then just backing off your loads a bit, because obviously you'll get a lot longer brass life out of a 222 than a 22 Hornet, if you are reloading, that is. So, mate, that's sort of a real big sum up of pros and cons, so I really hope that answers your question. Next question I got here is from Fred, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm looking to purchase a lever action rifle as a scrub gun for pigs and deer up to 150 metres. What would be your preference between 357 Magnum and 44 Magnum, and why?" Mate, honestly, 357 Magnum will be the way to go, because as I've said, dead is dead. 357 Magnum with some decent hunting loads and correct shot placement, you know, will drop pigs all day long here in Australia. The 44 Magnum, about twice the cost for ammunition, and also if you just want to go out to the range and just have a little bit of a plink, a bit of fun, you can put 38 special, you know, through your 357, so that's even cheaper and more comfortable to use. So that would be my take on that. All right, guys, that concludes this month's Q&A. Thanks to everyone who's you know, submitted the questions. So if you do wish to be a part of this, you need to be a Patreon supporter. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next edition of Q&A.